Long ago in Worry, Monday above, nicknamed Mondo for his sharp tongue, chased quick riches but shunned hard work. Inspired by a schoolmate's lavish life after marrying a wealthy white grandma, he joined an international dating site, charming 70-year-old Margaret from Kansas. He moved to America, dreaming of her fortune, only to become her full-time caregiver, cleaning up messes and enduring her ailments. For 3 years, he waited for her passing, but she grew stronger, leaving him exhausted. When she died, her will shocked him. Only $5,000, while her estate went to charity. Shamed as caregiver husband by Kansas's Nigerian community, he lived in a basement, his dreams crushed. Mondo vowed never to marry another grandma, writing, "If I no blow here, I go blow for heaven." Share your thoughts. Did Mondo deserve this, or was Margaret unfair? Long ago, in the heart of Worry, there resided a young man named Monday Above. Everyone referred to him as Mondo, not for simplicity's sake, but because he was quick-witted and sharp-tongued. Mondo had dabbled in nearly every venture except illicit gains. He once peddled second-hand trousers, but buyers grumbled about faulty zippers. He tried running a cyber cafe with just one functional computer, lacking even a mouse. He even boasted of trading Forex, yet couldn't name the currency he dealt in. When labeled jobless, he'd chuckle and retort, "Nah, I'm not jobless, just versatile and open to opportunities." In truth, Mondo was penniless, obstinate, and deeply averse to hard labor. Whenever he browsed WhatsApp statuses, he'd see peers like on Bitcoin and ogly papy Yankee flaunting wealth in Canada or America, driving Benz S and dining on large chickens at places with names starting with CHZ or LA. One day, his friend Kui showed him a photo of a former schoolmate who'd wed an elderly white woman and was now living lavishly in Atlanta, gifting his parents iPhones each Christmas. Kui noted that, though old, the woman was wealthy, owned multiple properties, and her passing would leave the boy with everything. That moment sparked something in Mondo. He bolted upright, clapped as if recalling a stove left on, and exclaimed, "Hold up, you're saying guys are marrying old women to get rich?" Kui nodded, whispering like they were plotting mischief. "It's not new. Come the new year, it's called a white widow deal. You love her, pamper her, marry her, then wait a bit." Before Kui could finish, Mondo yelled, "Where's my phone? Where's Google?" That evening, he created a profile on an international dating site, posting his best photo, taken posing in an ATM as if withdrawing cash, though he'd only checked his balance and saw insufficient. He described himself as a young African businessman, passionate and eager to love and protect, despite only ever guarding his last 200 naira from beggars. He messaged every elderly white woman with short gray hair and glasses. Some blocked him, others said they were with their nurse, and some called him too young, but one responded. Margaret Thompson, a 70-year-old retired nurse from Kansas, said she was lonely and sought a companion to love her until her final days. Mondo swiftly replied, "I'll be your songbird, singing for you always, my sweet sugar rose." Thus began the whirlwind. For 6 weeks, Mondo texted her day and night, even during power outages. If the signal dropped, he'd climb onto the roof to send, "I miss you, my spice-free angel." He showered her with pet names, "My cocoa butter, my snow queen, my Medicare sweetheart, my joy thermometer." Margaret fell hard for him, while he fell for her wealth. One day, she asked, "Would you like to live with me in America?" Mondo nearly shouted, "Yes," but feigned modesty, saying, "If God wills it, my love, then yes." She offered to fund his visa. Mondo wept, claiming his parents were deceased, though his father was alive, feuding over land with his uncle, and said he had no support despite a recent 10,000 naira transfer from his cousin. In no time, documents were prepared, a visa interview scheduled, and Mondo flew to America with a single Ghana must-go bag and dreams of wealth and lasagna. Landing in Kansas felt heavenly. Then he saw Margaret, a frail woman with white hair, thick glasses, and a smile like boiled yam. She waved weakly, and he rushed to embrace her. Her body was chilly as church tiles, but he grinned, "My darling, you're radiant." They wed the next week in a quiet civil ceremony. Margaret, in a white jacket, shuffled down the aisle like a slow-motion film, while Mondo smiled, thinking, "Just hang in there. When she's gone, you'll hit the jackpot." But it was only after the wedding that he entered her home. Stepping inside, Mondo froze, gazing around like he'd entered a gallery. The floors gleamed, walls shone white like hospital linens, and the air smelled of balm and lavender. Despite the heater, he shivered, as American cold pierced the soul. Still, he didn't complain, rubbing his hands and saying, "Wow, darling, this is paradise." Margaret giggled youthfully. "Wait until you see the bedroom." He followed, hoping for early rewards, but the bedroom held 5 cough syrup bottles, a large Vaseline, 2 adult diapers, and a Bible open to Psalms. He thought, maybe it's just decor, but that night, instead of romance, he applied heating pads to her knees, rubbed menthol on her back, and adjusted her breathing machine. Instead of passion, he heard, "My hips locking again." She fell asleep, clutching his hand like he was her caregiver, marking the start of his nursing role. By the second week, Margaret caught a cold that became a chest infection, followed by dizziness, low blood sugar, and resurgent arthritis. Before he could say, "Mission accomplished," Mondo was up at 6 a.m., massaging her legs and monitoring her blood pressure. When she soiled the rug one morning and he cleaned it with gloves, holding his breath, he looked skyward and cried, "Is this why I left worry?" Yet, thoughts of her mansion, estate, cars, money, and what kept him going. He'd tell himself, "Hold on. When she's gone, you'll thrive." But things worsened. Instead of passing quickly, Margaret clung to life like a chicken gripping its last grain. Her spirit was robust, though her body lagged. Needing constant care, she dismissed her nurse, making Mondo her all-in-one. Husband, cook, cleaner, tissue provider, wheelchair pusher, and chief diaper changer. One day, Qui video called. Mondo, in a sweater and scarf, sat by the window, faking a hot chocolate sip. "Guy, what's good?" Qui yelled. "You're looking fresh. They're posting about you, living the soft life." Mondo grinned sheepishly. "Bro, America's sweet. You wouldn't get it." Then Margaret called from the room. "Mondo, I need to poo again." Panicking, he ended the call. "Network shaky. Snow's messing with the sim. Talk later." Rushing in, he found a mess on the floor and wailed, "Lord, my village people are after me." That night, he checked his balance. Margaret gave him a meager allowance for groceries and maybe slippers. Her accounts were controlled by her lawyer and advisors. He couldn't touch her wealth or drive her car without permission. With no children, her nieces and nephews watched him closely. On WhatsApp, his mom messaged, "We hear you're rich. Send money for your brother's school fees." His uncle wrote, "Remember us and your blessings." A former crush texted, "Hey Zaddy, I see you in America. Don't forget old friends." He sighed, "No money, no peace, no green card, yet I'm wiping butts like a nurse." He couldn't leave. His immigration status was tied to the marriage. Leaving or cheating risked deportation. Even staying, he couldn't access her estate until her passing. So he waited for 3 long years. By now, Mondo had transformed. His face was gaunt, shoulders slumped, and his voice shifted from "my baby sugar tomato" to "Yes, ma'am, I'll fetch the walker." The first year broke his spirit, the second crushed his pride, and by the third, his accent mimicked Margaret's. He swapped "how far now" for "chamomile or peppermint tea, ma'am." He wasn't married. He was a nurse with a ring. At 5:30 a.m., he'd wake, not from discipline, but because Margaret's snores sounded like dogs fighting over custard. He'd stretch, wary of his aching back, then tiptoe to the kitchen to boil water, soak oats, crush pills, blend her smoothie, set out her shoes, arrange her pads, and adjust the curtains to dim light for her sensitive eyes. He'd tap her arm. "Good morning, sunshine." She'd smile wearily. "Where's my tea, my African baby?" Gritting his teeth, he'd reply, "Right up, darling." By 8 a.m., he'd bathe her, comb her hair, dress her in a floral gown, and guide her to her chair, where she watched old church shows and Judge Judy all day. At noon, he served soup and mashed carrots. At 3 p.m., he stretched her knees. At 5 p.m., he warmed her feet. At 7 p.m., he read Bible verses. At 9 p.m., he sang, "It is well with my soul," while rubbing her ankles. He sighed, "I'm doing praise, worship, massage, and pharmacy." Meanwhile, his Nigerian kin roasted him on WhatsApp, thinking he'd abandoned them. His brother posted, "Some forget their roots once they eat burgers." His cousin wrote, "America's made some strangers, they don't pick calls." They didn't know Mondo was in bondage, physical, spiritual, emotional, under Margaret's surveillance. Sneaking out for air, neighbors snitched, "We saw your husband with another woman. Everything okay?" Margaret called meetings with her lawyer and advisor, making Mondo explain 17-minute bakery trips like a scolded child. When he flirted online, her lawyer caught it via tracking software on his phone, installed for safety. He wept inside. This marriage is a prison, no uniform. His only drive was the hope that one peaceful day, Margaret would pass, leaving him the mansion, 4-bedroom house, cars, freezer, jewelry, savings, and shares. So he endured the bland soup, her nasal spray, her sneeze farts, believing big man cries now, enjoys later. But his village people disagreed, seemingly trailing him to America. Margaret's health didn't decline, it improved. Her blood pressure stabilized, sugar levels normalized, her therapist noted new joy, and her lawyer quipped, "Mondo's your true medicine." He laughed, "Never sleep," but cried inside as the woman meant to pass in 6 months thrived for 3 years, stronger and stubborner. One night, cleaning her dentures, he whispered, "Am I keeping her alive?" Unable to hasten nature, he waited. One Wednesday morning, steaming her breakfast vegetables, he noticed silence. Normally, she'd have sneezed twice, coughed 4 times, and demanded blinds lowered, heater adjusted, and ointment brought. Today, nothing. Tiptoeing to her bed, he saw her lying with eyes slightly open, lips parted, hands folded on her chest. Thinking she was meditating, he said, "Baby, tea's ready." No response. He shook her gently, then harder, "Margaret, don't do this today." Her chest was still. After 3 years of pills, ointments, mashed potatoes, diapers, massages, Bible studies, therapy dogs, and breathing machines, Margaret had passed. Mondo collapsed, crying double-sided tears, one eye for shock and sorrow, the other for joy and relief. Despite missing her smiles and "God bless you, baby," he envisioned suits and billionaire nods in a lawyer's office. He looked at her, sniffed, "You tried, held on too long. Rest now, I'll handle it." He called 911. The ambulance arrived. Doctors confirmed she'd passed peacefully at 73. Police ruled out foul play, and the funeral home came. All seemed smooth until the lawyer called. Mrs. Sheila Jameson said, "Mondo, I'm reading the will Friday, 11 a.m. at the firm." He wore his best black chinos and wine shirt, saved since arriving, and spritzed Margaret's perfume 5 times. Today's the day, he thought. I've suffered. Now wealth comes. At the lawyer's, with 2 nephews, a soup-bringing neighbor, and the choir director, he sat calmly. Sheila read, "To nephew Matthew, my piano and records. To the church choir, $10,000 for equipment. To dog Bentley, $15,000 trust." Mondo blinked, adjusting his shirt, unheard. She continued, "To my husband, Mondo above, $5,000 for support. My estate, house, savings, cars, investments, goes to the Ellis Foundation for Widows and Shelters." Mondo froze, mouth agape, looking around. "Is this my Margaret?" he asked. Sheila nodded, signed, sealed, notarized. Reality hit like a truck. 3 years ago, he left worry, jollof sia, to clean vomit and butts, missing his uncle's burial, sleeping by an asthmatic dog, enduring cold, insults, constipation, and Judge Judy for $5,000. His phone trembled. He slumped, whispering, $5,000, even maids earn more monthly. Tears wouldn't come. His village people had clocked out. The choir director whispered, "Lucky she gave you anything." Mondo wanted to snap, but held back, walking to the bus stop like an exile. This is juju, pure juju. At home, he passed Bentley, now richer, and sat on the couch where he massaged Margaret's cold ankles for hours. Staring at the wall like he'd bought an empty box, he didn't cry or curse, just breathed like at a shrine. $5,000, he whispered thrice. 3 years of bed baths, but wipes, pepperless soup, drip stands for $5,000. A caregiver earns more monthly. That evening, he replied to Quee's voice note. You forgot us, enjoying life. I'd sell that. How's quick? Mondo typed, Boss, she left me $5,000. Quee replied, Prank impossible. Then, you've suffered. News spread in Kansas's Nigerian community, dubbing him caregiver husband. An Igbo woman switched from good morning, sir, to Mr. But Wiper. A Yoruba man asked, You married her and got houseboy change? Mondo nodded, shamed. With no inheritance, wife, green card, paperwork pending review, house, now charities, or plan, he moved out in a week, packing his Ghana must-go and Margaret's wristwatch. He stayed in a Nigerian plumber's basement with cockroaches and a leaky pipe. He worked as a janitor, but a boy's taunt. He married an old woman for papers, now cleans toilets, stung like pepper, and he quit. Taxiing failed when the owner slapped him for fuel overuse. He considered Nigeria, but couldn't face telling his village he cleaned an old woman for 3 years for $5,000 in boots. He stayed. Then Sheila called. Mondo, you're nominated to speak at the Ellis Foundation's Senior Care Workshop for your dedication. Confused, he asked, Speaker for what? She said, Volunteer, no pay, but inspirational. He wanted to smash his phone, but couldn't afford a new one. Placing it down, he stared at the ceiling, laughing a mad, generator-starting laugh, followed by hot tears. Life had checkmated him. He slept, and next morning, wrote in block letters, No more grandmas. If I don't make it here, I'll make it in heaven. He tucked it in his Bible. Thanks for reading. Share your thoughts in the comments. Was Margaret wrong, or did Mondo get what he deserved? Share with loved ones, like, and subscribe if you haven't. Until next story, bye.